All right, we are live. NFL Week 16 preview. Started off with a phenomenal game last night. The Seahawks beat the Rams 38-37. Marcus, with the Reese Senior Bowl hat, could be an implication for how he feels about something. But Marcus, how are we doing?
Yeah. Good prediction by you. Maybe with Micah Parsons going down for my Packers, maybe the end of the season, draft season is a little harder on my mind than I would be hoping for. But hey, there's maybe some hope left in Packer land. We're gonna bury the lead though this week. We're gonna at least on my end finish with Packers Bears. We have some other football games to get to this week. Some certainly more meaningful than others. Would you like me to commence?
Honestly, I was just going to go with Eagles Commanders, just the first Saturday game.
Yeah, I forgot there's another Saturday game.
Good idea.
You take it.
All right, Eagles favored by 7 points. This game is in Washington. For the Eagles, this is very simple. This is as easy as it gets. Win and clinch the NFC East. And the Commanders, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I like the decision to announce that Jaden Daniels is done for the year. I was not the biggest fan of him coming back, and then he throws a play to Van Ginkel's side. He gets blocked, and then the rest is history. He's out for the season, and I'm glad that Jaden Daniels, they just made the decision to basically not RG for him, if you will, and just continue to play and say, hey, good luck out there. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they made that decision. Commanders at this point, not a whole lot to play for other than pride at this point, which, by the way, they got a win last week, which was huge. I did say on record multiple times that if they finished the year on a 12-game losing streak and if they got beat by double digits in each of their final 4 games, there'd be conversations had about Dan Quinn, but I think we're past that. For the Commanders at this point, please just stay healthy for as much as you possibly can for 2026. But yeah. Philly is all around a much more talented team. They're 7-point favorites. They looked a lot better last week. Granted, they were playing one of the worst NFL teams that we'll see in probably 5 to 10 years. But a win's a win. 31-0 is a win. Holding a team to 75 yards of offense is a win. And I think Philly is going to not repeat the same result, but roll this over, if you will, into week 16, and they will officially clinch the NFC East and have the first repeat winner in the NFC East in over 20 years.
Yeah, I couldn't really be a whole lot less interested in the Eagles playing the Raiders and the Commanders twice in the final 3 weeks of the year. Obviously, their expectations are set so far and above whatever happens in these games. Just don't slip up. Going to have a lot more to react to after next week's game when they get to play a real football team in the Buffalo Bills. So just don't poop your pants. Don't have 5 Jalen Hurts turnovers. Play hard. I think that Bears game, not to take anything away from the Bears, but there was a lack of effort from the Eagles culture and locker room in that game. I do expect that Washington's going to bring some intensity in this game just to try to play spoiler, play division rival and all that. So just show up, take care of business. Eagles should roll. And I think that's probably the 3rd week in a row that I forgot to put the graphic on for our opening game. So I do apologize.
There were people commenting, and I didn't want to be like, I hate to, it's just, but it's all good. We acknowledged it. And there we go. It's a beautiful graphic, and we acknowledged it. And the Eagles are, the Eagles should take care of business. That's how they need to view this game.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's bang out here. Kansas City at Tennessee. This is going to be interesting to see kind of what version of the Chiefs want to show up for these final 3 weeks. I went back and looked. 2012 was the last time that the Chiefs had nothing to play for with more than 1 game remaining. They've made the playoffs every single year since then, other than 2014, where they won in week 17 to get to 9-7. So even in 2014, they presumably still had things to play for at this point in the season. So it is just a weird vibe to see an Andy Reid Chiefs team at this point in the season with nothing to play for. And looking back at that, like, man, it is actually so impressive, the dynasty that they built even before the Mahomes era. Like, you forget that Andy Reid stepped in and took a horrible Chiefs team and immediately had them in the playoff picture with Alex Smith. It is a testament to what they've accomplished. But yeah, I am interested just from an overall look at things, like what effort do they want to bring? We've talked about this Chiefs defense being a unit that when you don't get a Chiefs, Steve Spagnuolo master plan from the defensive scheming side of things, their defense steps back a good bit. And I can't imagine that they're coming into this game really dialing in on like what are going to be the best ways to out scheme the Titans. Chris Jones had to learn in his post-game press conference last week that the Chiefs were eliminated. So what type of effort do we see from the Chiefs defense here on the road in Nashville? And offensively, like I could totally see them just kind of messing around, like feeding, like do we see them like force feeding Travis Kelce on his way out the door? I think he had a statement that Patrick Mahomes will come back strong for the Chiefs.
Yes.
Very interesting word choice there in what I think we all feel it's time to move on from Kelce there, who hasn't had a great season. But I could see trick plays, Gardner Minshew out there. I could see Gardner with like a 6 turnover worthy play performance, just kind of slop ball. No idea what we're going to get from the Chiefs in this one. Meanwhile, it's business as usual for the Titans. They're playing a meaningless football game just like they were in week 1 of this season. So I think things will be kind of like we've seen with Tennessee, where they have a lot of issues. I would love down the stretch for them to clean up a lot of the mental mistakes, pre-snap penalties and miscommunications, kind of start to get things on the right page as you head into the next season. Obviously, you're going to see a coaching change there, but a lot of it does just come down to focus from the players and execution. So I would love to see Tennessee win this game as a 3-point underdog at home and generate a little bit of feel-good vibes. But, who the hell knows what version of the Chiefs? I do still think even with Gardner Minshew, they're a better overall team, but I just don't know what the effort it's going to look like. So I'm going to take the Chiefs. Sorry, I lied. I misspoke. I'm going to take the Titans to pull off the upset as 3-point underdogs here.
I'm going to be honest. I hope you're wrong. The Titans fans have suffered a lot. Like, just get them another, you know what I mean? I want the number 1 pick if they can. I want them to lose out. And it's all in respect to the people in Nashville. I just want the best for them. There's not going to be many players to trade up for in the 26 draft, like where you can actually acquire legitimate draft capital. And I want the Titans to have as much of a chance as they possibly can. So I hope the Chiefs win. And I have no idea who's going to win this game. And I feel like if you, not you specifically, but I feel like if anybody's talking like, in definitive stances about this game, like 100% this team's winning, nobody knows. I would say I feel like Kansas City wins, but we'll see, man. I feel like Kansas City wins. I also want Kansas City to win for the sake of Titans fans, so that probably plays a part into that. But if Cam Ward has, a 300-yard, 2-touchdown game, that in some ways would be worth it.
I have to start Gardner Minshew in 2 playoff fantasy games, so wish me luck on that front.
Who went down? Who went down?
Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, wow. Duh. No, what
I only play in 2 quarterback leagues, and it's, there's not really many options out there on the free agent block. Obviously, trade deadlines are over, so had to go to Minshew. It was really the only option there. Phillip Rivers even was unavailable in one of my leagues.
All right, we are going to Buffalo and Cleveland. First off, we have to start with this is an interesting game because there's the Bills, Browns, and Lions. They all like kind of have like a little bit of an alliance because they're all around different parts of Lake Erie. So they're all some parts of each fan base like root for each other because they're all along the lake, just different parts. So I wanted to start with that. The last time these teams played, speaking of Lake Erie, was actually back in Detroit in 2022 because it was when Buffalo had the lake effect snow. They had 6 feet of snow and so they moved the game from Buffalo to Detroit.
Yeah.
And that was actually also in a game. This is going to be, I just wanted to kind of, bring this game back a little bit more. That was in a game where Josh Allen threw a ball out of bounds and he threw it to Amari Cooper, which was the first time that he threw a pass to him. And then the Bills eventually traded for Amari last year. So anyway, look, I'm going to be honest. This game is just Buffalo. Just don't play with your food. I mean, Shedeur Sanders last week is 0 touchdowns, 3 picks. We had the chain last week, or we had the watch last week. I don't have the watch this week. Shedeur was bad last week, if we're being honest. 5 touchdowns, 6 picks on the year. The Browns, have 8 points or less in 2 of 4 Shedeur Sanders starts. And the only starts where they have more than 8 points was against the Raiders and Titans. Needless to say, I think that this is very much going to be a game where maybe Myles Garrett and the Browns defense keeps it close in the first half. Generally speaking, the Browns defense does that, where they'll keep it within a field goal, keep it within 7 in the first half, and then it's, you're fighting an uphill battle the whole time. That's kind of all she wrote. And Buffalo simply do not turn the football over, and you will win this game. That's pretty much all. That's pretty much all that needs to be said.
Yeah, avoid mental mistakes, and
right.
Sean McDermott, don't let your defense look so bad that you somehow lose to the Browns. That's the bar for the Bills defense right now, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think we're going to move on.
I feel like sorry. I just forgot Myles Garrett sack record very much in watch.
Absolutely.
Have to mention that. But
and apologies, by the way, too. We dropped the ball on covering Patriots Bills last week, so we'll be more thorough on that front. I'll take the blame on that one because it was supposed to be the game that I had notes on. So my bad. But I do have a super chat here for our next game. Chargers, Cowboys. Not Monty. Monty's Broncos.
Okay. Well,
yeah. But Dylan says Chargers can still take the West. Bolt up. They can. They can certainly do that. I'm just not impressed by this Chargers team right now. And for that to be said after they just beat the Chiefs and the Eagles, I said this in the Power Rankings show, but like if you told me heading into the year the Chargers were gonna, get to 10 wins on the season after back-to-back wins against the Chiefs and the Eagles, I think the expectations would be a little bit higher here, but just not impressive wins by the eye test, honestly. I mean, a sloppy game against the Eagles where Jalen Hurts vomits all over himself, and then the Chiefs game, they were going to lose that game. And then Mahomes tears his ACL and Gardner Minshew throws an interception. Great play by Derwin James covering Kelsey on the corner route. But I don't think that interception happens if Mahomes is in the game, most likely. So, it's great that they continue to have this identity as a Harbaugh team and they can win games like that. But really all that matters for me in this game, obviously you want to win. If you're a Chargers fan, their last 2 games are Houston and Denver. Like you said, Dylan, they can win this division. But before you even get ahead of yourself with that, you need to watch this football game, throw out the record and the expectations and all that. You need to be able to block. You need to be able to have an offensive line that can get in the way of an opposing defense. Otherwise, none of this is going to matter. You're going to face Houston's pass rush next week, and Justin Herbert might die. This is obviously you should be able to win this game. They are underdogs, by the way, at Dallas, who's played some good football as of late. Another team whose season is likely to end on Saturday with what we said with the Eagles Commanders. Motivations for all that, it's hard to predict at this time in the season, but I think it's best, having done this over the years, just assume that every team is going to come out motivated and play their best football. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but I think it can be dangerous just assuming none of these teams are going to bring effort or anything. There's a lot more on the line than just playoffs. Like you got guys playing for their teammates and playing for jobs and all that. But if you get Dallas playing at the peak of their powers, I understand why they would be favored here at home. I think they're better from a roster talent perspective across the board. And let's call Dak and Herbert a push right now, I think, on how these guys are playing this season. But it's crazy to say Dallas, after what we saw last week, has the better offensive line because their tackles were getting lit up by the Vikings. But that's just the state of where the Chargers are at. I mean, they can't block anybody up front. So you're looking at a pretty good Cowboys front here. If you're a Chargers fan, besides winning this game, you want to come out of here and say, all right, we blocked, we cleaned some things up. We maybe did some things schematically to open this offense up a little bit. Cause right now they have no consistency offensively other than Herbert kind of making stuff happen, scrambling, making incredible throws, that type of stuff. So I I actually, God, I don't know who I want to pick in this game. I think I'll take the Chargers. I will give the Chargers a little extra credit here with their defense. Jesse Minter continues to cook. Tuli Tuipulotu and shout out to Odafe Owe is looking good. Like I kind of laughed at that trade. Owe has been extremely overrated player. What'd you say?
I like the Owe trade for the Chargers. I was like, I like it. He's, not a project, but a dart throw, and he can any week. Yeah, I liked it.
His athleticism has made a big difference with that front. Like Tuli and Khalil Mack don't have the speed and athleticism of him, and you're seeing a different body type in there and how it's working. So they're stepping up. And you have, Derwin and Diane Henley probably had their 2 best games of the season last week. So you're getting some impactful defensive performances. I think with everything, Harbaugh attached and this being a meaningful game for the Chargers, I will take the Chargers, but there's absolutely every reason why Dallas with Dak and those receivers and honestly a more talented defense than the Chargers have, in my opinion. There's plenty of reason that the Cowboys could win this. And Dylan, thank you again for chiming in again with another super chat.
I agree generally with what you're saying. I think that this game I do think Dallas will be eliminated, full transparency. I don't think the Commanders are going to beat the Eagles. So I very much think that Dallas is going to have nothing to play for when this game rolls around. But what I look for in this game is this is in some ways a cannot lose for the Chargers because their final 2 games are, they're against, I think it's the Texans and Broncos are their final 2 games. And I very much worry about the Chargers offensive line in those games. And there's a real scenario where the Chargers finish the year 10-7. And that is if they lose this game, but I think they're going to win this game. It's going to be another ugly one. They have not had many pretty wins this year. And I kind of expect that to continue. You are naturally going to be a limited team whenever not one, but both of your Pro Bowl caliber offensive tackles go down. And it's every week, Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense trying to make chicken salad out of just nothing there. Just tearing it down to the studs. I think the Chargers win. It's going to be close, but I also would not be surprised if the Cowboys win this game by double digits because of an offensive explosion.
Yeah.
So I think those are your 2 scenarios. Is Chargers by a field goal, Cowboys by double digits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Okay.
All right. We
where are you going next?
Cincinnati, Miami. We need some warm weather. I would love some warm weather, but so Cincinnati favored by 4.5, over under 47.5. Kind of surprised the over under is that high. Just being honest. First thing we have to mention is Joe Burrow versus Quinn Ewers. I am very disappointed that Zach Wilson's not getting an actual chance in the final couple of games of the year because why? I mean, what is there to lose? Quinn Ewers is a day 3 pick, and I think we're going to see why, if not this weekend, then probably within the next couple of weeks as to why Quinn Ewers was a late day 3 pick to begin with. But also within this, I have how does Cincinnati respond after a 24-0 loss against Baltimore? And we're at the point in the year where if Cincy loses again, especially to a Quinn Ewers-led team, by the way, I do think the Bengals are going to win, even despite with how they played in Week 15. But we're at the point where the discussions about the Bengals would be significantly more interesting about what happens off the field than where they are on the field, because this is a bad team. If the Bengals lose this game, I mean, in any way to a Quinn Ewers-led team, whether it's 17-14, whether it's 34-31, hey, if you lose 17-14, then we're in a discussion of, the Bengals couldn't put up more than 20 points against the Dolphins defense, which is obviously not world beaters out there. And then if you lose 34-31, you gave up 34 points in Quinn Ewers' NFL debut. What's that say about your defense? Oh my God, this is a very bad situation for the entire organization. So for the Bengals, I mean, you got to look at their future. You have to, in some ways, at some point, you have to get some sort of confident win. And they had a game last year where they they beat the Raiders by 3 scores. And there was a clip in that game where Burrow was pissed, even though they put up 40 points. It was because they weren't executing the way he wanted to offensively. But we need that type of game from the Cincinnati Bengals. This is on the verge of everything and everyone losing it within the organization. There's a lot of discussion and a lot of chatter right now around Cincinnati. They need to come out on top. full transparency for Miami, I don't have a lot of confidence in Quinn Ewers. I was not a Quinn Ewers guy in the pre-draft process at all. I heard the nickname at one point, Quinn Sewers, and I didn't exactly like push back on that one. Good luck, but
exactly.
We'll see how it goes.
And if I'm wrong, I want to talk about that a little bit. I mean, I think it's just a very narrow-minded decision by Miami and just being kind of unrealistic about like what the league is telling us right now. Like a guy like Quinn Ewers realistically needs multiple years to sit and learn before you should be throwing him out there in a situation like this. He needs to have the experience Zach Wilson has had the last couple of years where he's learning from Sean Payton and he's learned this system. And not that Quinn Ewers hasn't, but I think the right call would be to be realistic about the world we live in, where it's the Darnolds and the Genos and the Bakers and the Daniel Jones and a 25-year-old Tyler Shuck impressing for, maybe because he's been learning football for the extra 4 years. I think we are in this ecosystem where we've gone all the way back to the old way people used to scout quarterbacks is they looked for quarterbacks with 50 starts and guys that, were battle tested. I'm not saying Zach Wilson is good, obviously, but number one, he is a more talented player, a higher upside player than Quinn Ewers. But I also think he, in his timeline, deserved this opportunity in the same way that a lot of these other quarterbacks did. That's assuming, behind the scenes, he's not late to practices and not putting in the effort, which we obviously have no way of knowing that. He came out and said, I'm confused and frustrated. I think that's probably the result of him putting in hard work to try to get this opportunity. I just really don't like it. And I think it's unrealistic about who Quinn Ewers is. We got to see Quinn Ewers a little bit earlier in the year because they already went to him, once, and it was a complete disaster, like complete unmitigated disaster. I don't know. I just feel like you're obviously looking for a bridge out of the Tua contract. You're not going to get, maybe this is a Kyler Murray destination, but other than that, like you're not going to get some answer at quarterback. It's a legit opportunity to see, okay, we had 3 games here. Is Zach Wilson a legitimate option for us next year? I really just don't like that decision. That's my take on it. People have, said, obviously don't go to Zach Wilson because he's trash. It's like, you're not thinking open-minded about what the league has been telling us. Like Darnold was supposed to be trash. Daniel Jones was supposed to be trash. Geno was supposed to be trash. Well, look what happened. So, I don't know. I just don't like it from McDaniel and Miami as an organization.
And to add one last thing off of this, like say Quinn Ewers has a good 3 games. Say he throws for 3 touchdowns in every game. Are you going into 26 with Quinn Ewers as your starting quarterback off of a 3-game sample size? I wouldn't. But
no. Yeah, I don't think so.
It's just a bad process all the way around, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can totally justify Zach Wilson as the starter much more than you can Quinn Ewers, if assuming one of them played well. Yeah. All right. Jets, Saints. We're obviously getting the slop out of the way here. I'll go quick on this one. Saints have a chance to get to 5 wins here, which is just incredibly impressive given what I felt about them heading into this season. And I think they do. And by the way, I didn't give my pick on the last one. I'll take the Bengals. I didn't like the effort from the Dolphins last week. That was kind of strange. But anyway, Saints, even just to get to 5 wins with 2 more games remaining, really an impressive job by Kellen Moore, Tyler Shuck, obviously one of my biggest guys over the years. So a lot of victory laps to be had on seeing the football world really rally behind this guy and realize, why there was a lot of potential there. But I think the Saints can do it here. They're at home. The Jets are kind of a disaster right now. And the biggest thing I wrote down is this is maybe Aaron Glenn coaching for his job in the first year of this regime here. I think there's been a lot of just red flags, especially with how he's handled the media. But the fact that this defense has regressed again, there was some mid-season flashes that he was getting this unit together, but I think I tweeted this out too about Detroit's defensive infrastructure. I just never was impressed by their overall coaching in Detroit. They have a style that is all under the Dan Campbell brand. It's we're going to play man coverage. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to live by the sword, die by the sword. They've done the same thing here with the Jets, and that lack of adjustment that Detroit's defense has had under, the predecessor, what predecessors, ancestors, whatever the predecessors. Yeah. The predecessors in Detroit have had that same style. It's mirror image here with the Jets, where they are very high in man coverage. Aaron Glenn is running what he wants to run. He's going for that style. It's just an incredibly stubborn approach to coaching that is not consistent with what we see from great defensive minds. Great defensive minds take a realistic look at their roster and do what they need to do to survive out there and thrive if possible. And I think what I'm getting at here is not only is Aaron Glenn getting a lot of heat, and I did see a report that they are considering moving on from him. If the argument is, what else did you expect? Well, this is the perfect touchstone game to look across the other sideline there with a Saints team that was supposed to be even worse than you, which is saying a lot. And you have Brandon Staley out coaching your head coach. Like, what are we doing here with Aaron Glenn? You're getting lit up by a rookie quarterback potentially in this game. What are we doing here? And then, of course, Kellen Moore just has such a better grip on this thing as a head coach, in my opinion. You don't get these clips of him being irate with the media and having, moments where it feels like he's just not really the right guy for the job, is really what it's felt with Aaron Glenn. Everything about Kellen Moore from the very beginning has been checking boxes, and the win totals, potentially coming out of this game with the Saints as a 5-win team this year versus the Jets, maybe walking out of this as a 3-win team. And I think it's important too, because the Jets have loaded up on these draft picks. Is this the coach that you want to head into this legitimate rebuild with? I think it's a big game for Aaron Glenn. I think he's got to win this one, or you're very, very realistically talking about him being a one and done coach.
I'm with you. And I did a video on yesterday it was released. It was, why the NFL is a head coaching problem. And it's just because of the scarcity, because whenever you think about the Aaron Glenn situation, you're probably going to finish this year 4-13 at best, if we're being honest. Even let's say 5-12. If you win 5 games next year, 6 games next year, because this team's not 1 year away, you head into 27 with 3 first-round picks with a head coach that's 10-24 in 2 years, and that's already shown signs in year 1 of not great. Already fired his defensive coordinator. The press conferences where he like you said, where he says one thing one week and then completely dials it back the next and says to Rich Cimini about how he has all the injury reports and everything else. And I'm with you on that. I think Tyler Shuck and the Saints are going to win this game. I mean, there's a reason that the spread is 6.5 points, and I would actually take the Saints spread within this game. And I hope to see Tyler Shuck continue the success that he's having so far. So I'm with you. I think the Saints win this one pretty comfortably.
Yep.
Also, I did want to shout this out real quick. Brady Cook did you see the one interception he threw last week? The one, if you saw the one.
Full disclosure, I haven't gotten to that Jets game yet.
Well, I
just saw some Jags highlights.
He threw a bad interception. He threw a really bad interception on the goal line, and I'm taking this term 100%. Somebody called it a baked potato interception. That's I love it. I'm rolling with it. I like it.
Baked potato interception.
It was like a lollipop. And by the way, speaking of interceptions, I want to shout both of us out. I want to clap it up. We have as many interceptions as the Jets this year, so we're both pretty athletic on top of it.
Oh my God.
I wanted to just, clap it up. I wanted to give it up, season's greetings. I wanted to give it up.
Keep piling on Aaron Glenn. Yeah, we didn't even mention the fact that they fired their defensive coordinator when he's the defensive coach. Yep.
So I wanted to just, clap it up for you watching as well. Clap it up. All right. Vikings Giants. First off, I wanted to get this out of the way. We have the season's greetings. I have a Christmas sweater on, so, 'tis the season.
Beautiful.
I had to get that out of the way. The Diggs Minneapolis Miracle, I had to get that one out of the way. It's classic. I was thinking about getting a Sopranos Christmas sweater, but I kind of had the question, like, how many times am I actually going to wear a Christmas sweater? And it was like, is it worth it? So we got the Miracle sweater. Just wanted to bring that one out. First off, we're hot. We went from 6 points in 8 quarters to 65 points in 8 quarters. So I'll take that. I'll take that 10x jump. We've been looking good. Also within this, Christian Darrisaw, it was just announced today that he's done for the year, which I'm going to be honest, I mean, I don't want to say happy that he's like done, but I'm you know what I mean? Like I like where we are with that decision. So within that, yeah, I mean, look, Darrisaw was not healthy all year. They had him on a pitch count. It was a really weird situation. Just glad that we're focusing on 26 with him. The worst thing that would be for him to go out in a game like this at MetLife on that turf and re-injure his knee. So very glad. You know what? I'll say it. I'm glad that he's done for the year for the long-term health. I'll say that. JJ looking really good. He gritted into the end zone last week, rushing touchdown. That was really nice to see. And I actually had in my notes when I was taking notes for this morning, I actually put wouldn't mind if we shut Darrisaw down. So that did actually happen between the time of my notes and now. Grenard and Metellus are also both on IR. Metellus, rough year. I'll just leave it at that. Grenard is a really good player. He didn't finish as many sacks this year as he should have, which he knows that. He acknowledged that multiple times. But the biggest thing with the Vikings here is I just want one Justin Jefferson game. Just give me one good game. Just give me 125-yard game with JJ. JJ last week, McCarthy, not Jefferson. McCarthy last week had a perfect passer rating when not targeting Justin Jefferson, and he had a quite literal 0 passer rating when targeting Justin Jefferson on 8 targets. He was 2 for 8, 22 yards, also threw a pick when targeting Jefferson. And that pick was not really a real interception. It was a batted ball like type thing. It was right at the line. But anyway, Vikings are going to win this game. I feel confident. I don't like a Jackson Dart-led team against a Brian Flores defense, even with a couple guys out. To go a little more on the Giants, the biggest thing that I want to see from Jackson Dart is him protect himself like over the course of the final 3 games, because I'm at the point where, if I'm going to be honest, I'm a little worried about the long-term security of Jackson Dart. And I think that's a very fair concern to have with how he plays the game. And I love the passion that he plays with, but there's also things to be said about, being able to protect yourself and being able to, help with the Giants' long-term investment they have with him at quarterback. The Giants receivers last week, specifically Darius Slayton, a couple of big drops. That'll be addressed this offseason. But the biggest thing with Jackson Dart, want to see him continue to play the level that he's played so far this year, stay healthy. And honestly, I hope we have like a 31-28 type game. I hope we have a high-scoring game, but I do think Minnesota wins on the road to improve to 7-8.
All right. I don't have a whole lot of disagreement or feedback, to be honest. I'm good to carry on here. I know we both got some Christmas festivities this evening to look forward to. I do have some super chats though.
Hell yeah.
Before we go to the next game. So from Lex says, Derek Hall got suspended. Curious your thoughts on how that affects us against the Panthers. So Derek Hall for Seattle. Seattle plays the Panthers next week. I wouldn't worry about it too much, to be honest. I think you're a much better team than Seattle. I don't know if does it leak beyond that? Is it just
it's a one game. It was for
one game
conduct.
Yeah. I wouldn't sweat it too much. To be honest, I think, he's had a good year. I don't want to take that away from him, but they've got plenty of bodies on that defensive line to take care of business against Carolina. I think it's more about just overall execution and not making silly mistakes and losing a game that you should win. I don't think Derek Hall moves the needle too much for you there. It's good that it's just one game. After what a freaking night for the Seahawks, by the way, to get a shot at the 1 seed, to force the NFC to go through Lumen Field would be major. And then another Seattle related super chat here from Drew Spox. I saw this in the Discord too. But Drew says, spent 3 extra hours stuck in the Cascades trying to make it to the Hawks game, arrived a quarter late and still got to watch 4 amazing quarters. Go Hawks. Yeah, it was the right game to show up in the second quarter. That's for damn sure. Because it was kind of a quiet first quarter for what ended up being an instant game of the year candidate. I'm glad you got your money's worth there with proper overtime rules.
Yeah, the overtime rules are nice. They are now.
Yes, it's so nice. It's such a relief. I used to get so angry. Even a game that I had, nothing on the line, no stakes attached to the game. I would just hate to see a team just get the ball, go score a touchdown, and the game's over. It's like if it's like a baseball game, if the team that had the top of the inning hit a home run and that was the game. Like how stupid was that? So glad
what if you're in the NFC Championship game, they go down and kick a 42-yard field goal and then walk off and you don't even get a chance to score. That would also stink. That would also stink.
Is this an Aaron Rodgers dig?
No, this is a 2009 NFC Championship game. For the Brett Favre.
That's right. When it was a field goal did it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's even worse. Yeah, that's even
Season
worse.
On the
I was gonna sit here and complain about the fact that Aaron Rodgers lost 2 playoff games not getting to touch the football, which also sucks. But even worse when it was a field goal did it. Yeah, even worse. That's just crazy. You imagine if they still had that, but the new kickoff rules. So you just needed 10 yards, kick a game-winning field goal, and then
Sam Darnold has a game-winning drive this year. It was against the Cardinals. It was also on Thursday night, and it was like they got the ball at the 40. I think Kenneth Walker had like a 20-yard run, and then Charbonnet had like a 7-yard run, and Darnold gets the game-winning drive.
Yeah. Well, at least, it's good, though, because at least your defense has to get a stop to set that up.
I do have a couple super chats as well. They're actually all from the same person. They are $2 super chats. They're 2 of the same message. So he sent the same message, like he said Bears for one of them, sausages for
better,
one.
Best.
No. Bears for one, sausages for one, and meatball sandwiches for another.
Okay. Interesting. I don't really affiliate meatball sandwiches with like Chicago and the Bears, but I can see it. I think I'm more of Italian sausage, but
while we are in the Seahawks, I did have a super chat from Calvin. He said, even though my Seahawks won last night, I still wouldn't want to play the Rams again, although round 3 seems inevitable. Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, you gave up almost 600 yards of opposing offense. I wouldn't want to play them either.
Yeah.
And
but by the way,
on the road, yeah.
By the way, did you see I got community noted over my Chicago food opinions?
Chicago, yeah, I'll say this. Chicago, elite city. I can't wait to go back.
Very proud of their culture and anything.
They should be.
Anything niche about like their food or drinks or whatever. Like I've been to Soldier Field, I think 8 or 9 times. I'd have to go back and rack it up. Not once have I noticed that it's RC Cola instead of like Pepsi or Coca-Cola. To be fair, I'm not exactly drinking soft drinks when I go to Bears games, but I definitely got flamed for that one, deservedly so. I'm hoping that ends 2025 as my worst take of the year, and I will be very happy if that's just the case. All right, so I'm up next for my pick on the next one.
Yes.
All right, I think we can start talking about some meaningful football here. Tampa Bay, Carolina Panthers. You thought Thursday Night Football was the game of the year? You were kidding. That is this game right here. Battle for the NFC slouch. I've found the proper nickname for the NFC South. Man, I do think Tampa is just a better football team. I want to lead with that. I think offensively they are much more trustworthy than the entire Panthers infrastructure, from Dave Canales to Bryce Young, to just the overall execution. But this is very much a winnable game for Carolina with how Tampa Bay is playing as of late. Now, for Tampa's side of things, I think it's much more straightforward. Like I said, I think they're the better team, but Baker's got to play better, man. I think they have a lot of issues. Obviously, like the defense has some injuries. They're not playing up to their standards as a Todd Bowles defense. They've obviously been beat up offensively. Like I'm not saying it's all Baker Mayfield's fault, but I do think when you look at this game and you look at how Baker's played the last 7 weeks, he just has to play better. I mean, he hasn't played like, we've got the QB tiers. He hasn't even played like a tier 3 QB for the second half of this season. He's been more of that, tier 4, like fringe starter kind of guy. He's missing way too many throws. He's been inaccurate. He's getting pocket trauma. He's not exhibiting patience in the pocket and good overall pocket presence. And now that Tua Tagovailoa has properly been benched, he leads all active starters in turnover-worthy play percentage in the NFL. So he's got to play better against a Panthers defense that they really just kind of sit back and wait for you to make a mistake and try to capitalize on it. That's really all they can do, with absolutely no pass rush to speak of at all. And I love Derek Brown. I love Nick Scorton. I guess you could technically do worse, but when push comes to shove, those guys aren't at a point right now where they're making their presence felt. It really does suck that the Panthers missed out on Milton Williams. I just want to say that. I know he's hurt right now, but that would have been such a difference maker if the Patriots didn't swoop in and steal him. But yeah, I think if Baker can get back to playing good football, the Bucs should win this one. But that's a big if. He has, like I said, really just been struggling. Now for the Panthers, it's a lot more complex. I think the easy takes on it is like, oh yeah, Bryce has to be better. And he does. But this goes so much further beyond Bryce Young. When the Panthers have these Panthers games, right? The roller coaster Panthers, when they put these stinkers out there, it's consistently a group effort. And I think that very much starts with Dave Canales. And I think this game, you're not going to come out of this year with Dave Canales on the hot seat. That's just not going to happen. They've had a good season overall, but I do think this game, and then of course the other Bucs game, if it ends up being meaningful. But I think there's a chance if Tampa wins next week, Carolina will lose the next two. That would make the Week 18 game not matter. But definitely this game, it's going to dictate, I think, especially as a Panthers fan, how you feel about Dave Canales next year and how much you can trust him. And I think there's two things with him. Number one, it's kind of like I said, just the overall preparation and execution has not been there. The pre-snap penalties and sloppy mistakes and coming off the bye week and not looking ready to go against the Saints, which is exactly what happened last week. That has to be there from a head coaching standpoint. You have to have this team ready to win a big one. But also I talked about this earlier in the week, but it is time to open things up. They are second in the NFL in first down run rate and 30th rather in the NFL in first down play action rate. Bryce Young has 2 games of 25 plus passing attempts since week 5. That's nothing, by the way. 25 pass attempts is nothing. And just 1 game of 30 plus pass attempts, which is still pretty low. And that 1 game was the Falcons game when Bryce Young threw for 440 yards and they went into Atlanta and they looked great offensively. It's time to stop trying to hide from Bryce Young. Whatever your thoughts on Bryce Young are, this team's going to sink or swim because of it. Either he can step up and you can throw the ball and open up this passing game, or you're going to be able to, if that happens, you have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs, feel great about, this season and head into next year. If you put more on his plate and he fails, you have a better understanding of where you're at with him as you head into next year. So it's time to open things up. It's time to execute. And I got to end this by putting just a little bit of pressure on my guy T-Mac as well. Been a great rookie. Love everything about T-Mac. The last few weeks haven't been great for him. There's been a lot of drops. He's 1 for 5 on his last 5 weeks on contested catch targets. He's going to have to step up too. So going to be a very fun game. Much more simple for Tampa to get this one done because they're the more talented football team. But I think Carolina's got a chance too. I do have to take Tampa. I can't trust Carolina in a big spot. I've tried it twice this season, and it's hurt me personally. But I'm not gonna lie, I will absolutely be cheering for the Panthers in this one. What do you got?
I think the Bucs win. I also think that even though I think the Bucs are going to win the NFC South, because what also should be mentioned is the Panthers, if they lose this game, I mean, I'll be direct. I think the Panthers season's on the line, not just because of the fact, they play the Bucs. Obviously, that's a big game. They play the Seahawks next week. I think if they lose this one, they lose next week, nothing to play for in week 18. So because I think the Bucs would presumably have the division wrapped up. So I think in a lot of ways, the division comes down to this week specifically for the Panthers. And within this, for reference, the Bucs next week, they have at Panthers, at Dolphins, and then, of course, the Panthers again. So I think the NFC South, if there's a meaningful Week 18 game, which would be moved to Sunday night at 8:20 for the big playoff deciding game, it comes down to the winner of this week. But within this, even if the Bucs win the division this year, Todd Bowles' lifetime is 34-31 as the Bucs head coach. I still think they're going to move on from him at the end of the year. They have 3 division titles in the worst division in football, and they're not. You don't look at the Bucs and say, hey, they're a Super Bowl contender. So while I do think the Bucs take care of business, last week at the end of the game, that was a really, really bad scene. And I think Tampa, like you said, because they are a more talented roster, and specifically with the Panthers' lack of ability to consistently get after the quarterback, I like Tampa in this game, but that doesn't mean that I think the Bucs are going to do anything if they get to the postseason. I think it's very much going to be an extension of the season by 7 days.
Yeah. I do have a couple super chats here. Lex again says, I think the Bucs need to move on from Bowles. I think we both are at that point. Maybe Clint Kubiak. I really like that. Bring him back to the NFC South. That's the same offensive infrastructure that Baker's thrived in. Stop this cycle of having to find an offensive coordinator every single year. I like that a lot. The only holdup on firing Bowles is you do also have to look ahead at who your options are. And this just isn't a huge pool of great candidates. So it's something to think about for not just the Bucs, but all these teams kind of on the fringe of firing their coaches. Is it better on the other side of the pillow? And then Charles as well is hyping up the Chargers' opportunity to win the AFC West and potentially get the 1 seed if the Broncos lose and the Chargers win. Like I said, I get it. I think that's putting the cart 3 miles before the horse because this team can't block anybody right now. So I get it, but let's week by week with that team, especially let's see them take care of the Cowboys as they are underdogs in that game. I would like to remind, but I also did have a chat in there too. That was a great point. Lazy Lazar says to compare the Bryce Young passing attempts number there. The Bears also run the ball a ton. But Caleb Williams has thrown the ball more than 25 times every game this year. So that's a great measuring stick there. And I also wrote down, I love the over in this game, by the way, 45.5 points, beautiful day in Charlotte, North Carolina. I think we get offense in this one.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We're on to game of the year, Falcons, Cardinals. Hold the excitement.
These two teams are meant for each other, man.
Yeah. Look, here's what I wrote down. Kirk, I got in between there between saying Kirk and Kyle Pitts. So that was the reason for that little stutter there. Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts, free agency showcase game. I put, is there any chance Raheem Morris saves his job if they win out? I put that as a question, which the biggest thing for the Falcons is they have a very difficult opponent in week 17. They're 5-9 right now, but right now they are riding I thought it was a 2-game streak. Sorry, it's only a 1-game streak, but they looked really good last week. The 19 penalties was obviously a very bad part, but if they win this game, if they beat the Rams in week 17, if they beat the Saints, I personally wouldn't bring Raheem Morris back, but who's to say, especially if Kirk Cousins continues to play at the level that he is, and then you have a tough decision this offseason. The reality of this game for me is it's very much just what do we have to look for in 26 for both teams? It's just a forgotten year for Arizona. They've had injury after injury after injury. They went from 2-0 to 3-11. Quite frankly, I think it's going to be to 3-12 after this game. I think Atlanta's actually going to win this game by, I would say, at least a touchdown. There's a very real possibility that the Cardinals finish 3-14 after starting out 2-0. I also have which Arizona team shows up, the one that cares or kind of just repeatedly checks out. And I do want to credit you, Marcus. Last week, I said that I thought there was a chance that the Cardinals covered the 10-point spread against the Texans. The Texans were up 7-0 within the first minute. There was a chance where Texans fans were a little nervous. It was 33-20 at one point, and then they scored to make it 40-20, which was the final. But right now with the Cardinals, we are working on back-to-back 20-plus point losses. There's 3 games left. Atlanta, at Cincinnati, at the Rams. I would say 2 of those games are winnable. Which team shows up? I mean, I think that Gannon is out at the end of the year regardless for obvious reasons, but I do think the Falcons are going to win this game. The Cardinals have been banged up all year, and I hope to see the Kyle Pitts free agency showcase continued because he's going to be a very highly sought after, or I imagine he's going to be a very highly sought after player in a couple of short months.
Yeah. I guess looking forward to watching Kirk Cousins. Like, I don't know. I root for Kirk. It's a shame that the Cardinals defense is so passive and bad at this stage in the Jonathan Gannon era. Like, you would want at this point to be like, yeah, the Cardinals defense should be able to step up against Kirk Cousins and give him a chance to win this game. But they just, have had the opposite of progress there. It's bad. I'll go Falcons. I got nothing else.
I mean, we're at the time of the year where it's, you know what I mean? Like,
we're just trying to get to the off season with half these teams. Yeah.
Stay healthy. The biggest thing, please stay healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Drake London should be back this week, I think.
Oh, I definitely love the Falcons then. I love the Falcons. There's a couple spreads I like this week. Us by 3, the Falcons by 3. Yeah. There's
I do like that. Okay, here we go. Jags, Broncos.
Monty.
This is Monty in here? Not yet. We love you, Monty. Okay, this one's exciting. I think you have a strong argument that these two quarterbacks, and I heard this from the Sam and Steve Palazzolo, their show is much listened to every week. But they made the case that both these quarterbacks are coming off the best game of their career. I think certainly with Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence definitely coming off the best game of his season. I think you probably go back to when he was good a few years ago. You could probably pick a couple of the games that weren't against the New York Jets. But absolutely, like, the narrative is here with both these teams creating some real hype. And, if you ask Broncos fans, they're going to tell you we've been great the whole year. We're not surprised. We're 12-2 and we've expected a Super Bowl the whole way. But I think if you asked 90 plus if you asked a neutral party, a non-Broncos fan, could you see the Broncos winning a Super Bowl? I think 90% of people throughout the course of the season would say, no, not really. I can't really envision it with the inconsistencies they've had on offense and how Bo Nix has played in large parts of the season. What are you laughing at?
I have a super chat. Just maybe this makes you feel a certain way. You haven't picked yet. They said, Marcus, for the love of everything, please pick the Broncos so we, the Jags, will win. We need this. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Exactly, Ben. Exactly. Accurate. But with everything I was just saying, last week, absolutely the most impressive game of Bo Nix's career. He was throwing haymakers at a Packers defense that did have Micah Parsons up until the end of the third quarter. The Packers were on the ropes. They had no answers. He had 5 big-time throws in this game, and it felt like that. Touch passes for touchdowns, lasers down the sideline. He hits the Packers had a chance to get this ball back at the end. But he hits a fade to Cortland Sutton, who I've been screaming for them all season long to lean into him more, and they're finally doing it. Love to see that. I think he's such an underrated player that has gone underutilized for way too long, and they're leaning into him, and you love to see it. So I trust. I like what I can't say trust quite yet. That's what this game is really why it's so important, is to develop some of that trust factor with this offense. But I love the upside of what we have started to see from this Broncos offense. And I think that was the first game where I think most people would watch, and I'm curious if you agree with it, where most people would watch it and say, yeah, I could actually see this being a Super Bowl team if Bo Nix plays anything close to that, because we know what this defense is capable of. So I think like I said, it's a huge game for Bo Nix to keep building off of that performance, play quarterback with a high upside look. And the only other thing there is underneath the 5 big time throws were 4 turnover worthy plays. Now, not all turnover worthy plays are created equal. I think, none of them were really all that bad, to be honest. One was a design shot play that he shouldn't have forced, but it's kind of how it goes. Sean Payton tells you to take a shot, you kind of take the shot. And it should have been picked by Xavier McKinney. That was probably the worst of the 4 charted turnover-worthy plays. The other ones were tight windows that he's trying to press, and the ball gets kind of deflected or popped up into the air into harm's way. And the Packers defense, being the Packers defense, couldn't capitalize on a single one of them. But can Bo Nix play? The underlying idea here is, can Bo Nix play this explosive brand of football where he's making these big throws without putting the ball in harm's way? And that's going to be very important as we look forward at this game and, moving forward. So it's a huge game for him. And then for the Jags, this is getting very interesting. I made that video about the Jags. It's part of the reason we get a comment like that from you. And the viewers is I make this video about them when they're 4-1 and they beat the Chiefs, and I'm hyping them up. The title of the video is the Jags might be legit this time. And then they go and the midseason happens and they regress back to a very middling, frustrating football team. But the context of that video has really grown throughout the course of the season, where I basically in a 30-minute video essay was pointing out that there's a lot of stuff working here other than the passing game. And now in the last month, things with the passing game are coming together, and it's every point, the three core issues that I highlighted in that video at week 5 of like basically saying this is going to make or break how legit this team is Trevor Lawrence's accuracy, his decision-making, and then surrounding him countless amount of miscommunications, drops, errors by the playmakers in Jacksonville. And all three of those three things have improved. I have not watched the Jags. Now, granted, I just admitted I haven't gone back to revisit the full-length game of Jags Jets. I'm going to watch that on our drive down to Chicago tomorrow. But I'm curious your thoughts on this. But other than that, I have watched all 4 of the last, 3 of the last 4 games. I have not felt the accuracy issues on Trevor Lawrence nearly as much. So it feels like something is working there. I know they were working on his footwork heading into the year, reworking that, could be more comfortable with that. The turnovers, Trevor Lawrence has 12 big time throws to 3 turnover worthy plays in the last 4 games. So they're taking much better care of the football. And then the addition of Jacoby Myers and the overall improvement of these wide receivers, it can't be understated. That has been the move, the offseason move of the season, during the season. Obviously, I think you'd say Micah Parsons for the year at large, but I mean, to pick him up midseason for the Raiders to just treat him like used goods and then him to step in immediately. I have always defended Jacoby Myers, but I looked at some of these midseason wide receiver acquisitions, whether it's DeAndre Hopkins or, even Devontae Adams on the Jets. It took a little while to get started, reunited with Aaron Rodgers. Like, that's a testament to why I felt this way. Amari Cooper was a complete nothing burger for the Bills. I just thought it would be pretty hard for Jacoby Myers to step into Jacksonville and kind of save this passing game and raise the floor in the way that he has. And it's just been a match made in heaven. They just gave him a 3-year, $60 million contract extension. Like, he's been incredible. And it's so fun to see him be utilized as the best version of himself. It's really ironic that my pro comp on Emeka Egbuka was supercharged Jacoby Myers. And now he comes into essentially the same offense. Obviously, Liam Cohen ties to Tampa, essentially the same offense, and has been the things that they're saying about Jacoby Myers are like copy pasta on the same things they said about Emeka Egbuka, like, oh, his leadership, and you just can't believe like how complete this guy is as a player. It's like, it's that pro comp couldn't have aged any better, I think, with how these guys have turned out this year. So anyway, Trevor Lawrence, the highest graded quarterback in football for the last month per PFF. Pretty cool. So huge game, huge measuring stick game for both these teams in terms of their potency. And I can't wait to see what happens. I'm going to pick the Broncos, home team, very tough team to beat in Denver. I think I do trust that defense to force some of those, maybe some of those mistakes creep back up for Jacksonville. Hopefully they don't, obviously. But I'm giving the people what they want. I'm picking the Broncos. And yeah. What?
I was waiting on that for like 5 minutes. I was waiting on just to play the horse sound effect. Look, I am very much looking forward to this.
The build up made it so much better.
Oh, I've been waiting for it. Defense. Both defenses here. There's a good chance the under hits in this game, but Trevor has been playing. Trevor's been the player that he was billed to be for the past couple of weeks, and I'm really, really happy to see that. But right now, the way that Bo Nix played really good last week. Both players. This is a really good point by Steven Sam to say both of them are coming off the best games of their career. This is very much like a movable force against a movable force, unstoppable object. I can't wait to see this. I think this is a 405 game, which is insane to me, but this is going to be one of the better games of the year. And for everybody that says, oh, every time it's a game of the year that's built up, it never is a game of the year. Last night was a prime example. That was a game of the year. This is going to be very much similar. I mean, probably not 38-37, that type of, chaotic the way that it played out in fourth quarter, but I cannot wait to see this game. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Denver at home. And I also do have a super chat from Jack Fromm, who says, imagine if Travis Hunter didn't have a season-ending injury. That's a very complex conversation that I'll get into more this offseason, but I can't wait to see how the Jags utilize him on both sides of the ball next year. But also Caleb Ransall coming back. The Jags' future really bright, really bright.
Yeah, we'll see about Ransall. I wasn't a huge fan of that one. Yeah, it sucks, but I also think there's a simplistic beauty of it too, where they've learned a lot about themselves around Travis Hunter in the meantime, and now he's essentially your first round pick again this year, right. And you can now drop him back into this picture. I think there's an argument to be made that they might be better off for it. And that's not that Hunter wasn't playing great. It's just, there's a lot to kind of figure out with him in his first year. So there's an optimistic spin on it, I guess.
All right. We have Steelers.
Like you probably don't make the Jacoby Myers trade. If Hunter was,
that's fair.
I
also did like the role for him, and that's a different conversation. That was 6 months of build up for what I thought was not great planning, but that's another conversation. But Steelers Lions. This is the Lions ever since, and this is actually the same thing with the Panthers as well. That both of those teams since like the week 7 area, they have went win loss. Like it's whatever happens. The exact the following week is the opposite. The Lions lose last week 41-34. I know there were some Lions fans upset about the Colby Parkinson touchdown, and I completely understand as to why they would feel that way. But if I'm being honest, I think that this for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the biggest thing that concerns me within this game is this is truly, to me, one of the worst matchups imaginable for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I think the speed is, there's a chance that Jahmyr Gibbs and J-Mo run them out of the building. And what I really fear for the Steelers within this game is they run a Yankee concept that's where one receiver runs a deep post, one runs a deep cross or Dover. I call it a deep over, a Dover route. So they have a deep post and a Dover route. And if you have J-Mo on a Dover route off a play action fake, good luck. Because once he catches the ball on the Dover route, Goff usually does a tremendous job of hitting him in stride. It's a foot race, and nobody in that Steelers secondary is going to be able to run him down. I very much think that the Lions could have a couple of drives within this game that are sub 5 plays, but more than 60-yard drives. Jahmyr Gibbs, I've said it before, I'll hammer it home again. One of the most talented running backs I've ever seen strictly in the eye test, although the numbers very much back that up as well. Detroit is also, by the way, this is something that has not just been discussed as much as it should be. Detroit's first in the NFL in scoring, which I feel like that's been kind of flying under the radar. I just feel like that the narrative within primetime games for them has not gone in their favor, obviously with the loss in Kansas City earlier in the year, the loss in Philly, and then the loss to the Packers on Thanksgiving. I just think that the Lions are going to run them out of the building. The Lions have also not lost back-to-back games going on 3 years. I don't think that is going to break this week. I like the Lions a lot in this game. Love the Lions 7-point spread. And with the Steelers, to me, I said this is a classic place for them to beat the Dolphins and then lose the following week. You have everybody start to buy in. We're 8-6. We can maybe run the table. This is a good spot to fall to 8-7 and then to play in week 18 for the division on the line. So I do think the Lions win this game and very comfortably at that.
Yeah, I like it. I just took it while you were talking. I think it makes total sense. Lions prefer to be in man coverage, and I think the Steelers are absolutely an offense you can play man against. Bracket DK Metcalf, force someone else to beat you. I think they actually have, Pittsburgh definitely gets a lot of negative energy, a lot of negative discourse about their offense. They've had some good moments in the right matchups. I think Miami was an excellent matchup that wasn't equipped to handle the heavy personnel and all that stuff. This is Detroit's dream to get
Yes.
a home game against an offense that wants to run the ball and play 13 personnel and a quarterback that can't beat you with his legs so you can stay in man coverage. It's just, this game was built for the Lions. And I agree with everything you said about the team speed and the Steelers defense struggling there. Detroit coming off a loss with a long week, right? They were Thursday night against the Rams, right?
Yes.
They were Thursday night against the Rams. Pittsburgh's short week.
Not Thursday, it was Sunday.
That was Sunday. Okay, so it's not a long week. I guess I was thinking scratch that. But shorter week for the Steelers. Really, the only thing is Aaron Rodgers should be pretty comfy in this stadium, and the Lions defense has had their struggles. Wouldn't be surprised if DK Metcalf got a few in this one, but I don't know it's going to be enough. So, I like it. I like Detroit to roar and set themselves up for. I mean, I still think Detroit's going to find a way to get in. I do. I don't know if it's going to be the Bears spot or the Niners spot,
or
I'm just not quite ready, or the Packers spot. Yeah, you're right. It could absolutely be the Packers spot. It's harder there though because they got swept. That's why I didn't say that. The Packers swept Detroit. So if it comes down to, the Packers also have a tie, so it gets weird. It gets very weird. But yes, I'm picking the Lions to roll. Raiders, Texans, don't slip up, Houston. Should we move on? I mean, the Raiders aren't an NFL team. I mean, this is the James Madison of the NFL committee right now. I mean,
the spread should honestly be higher. The spread should be higher.
Yeah.
There's a real chance the Raiders go back-to-back weeks less than 100 yards is hard to do because they only had 75 yards last week. There's a real. I'll give them some benefit here, which is against the best defense in the league. So they might go back-to-back weeks less than 150 yards in each game and back-to-back shutouts.
Yeah, I wonder what on underdog and your pick'em contests.
Yeah,
what is Kenny Pickett's passing total? I'm gonna take a look. I might check that while you talk at the next game, or you can check right now. I know Houston.
I was going to say we can move on to Ravens Patriots, but I mean,
I did have one note on that. The Jacoby Brissett in kind of garbage time comeback style football because the Texans got up so big early. That was the first time a quarterback this year has thrown for over 200 yards against this defense. It's incredible.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
there's nothing on Prize Picks regarding the Raiders.
Okay, if Kenny Pickett, if it is a 3-digit number for his passing yards.
He's not on there. It's actually Geno. Sorry, I was looking at Kenny. It's Geno.
Oh, it's Geno.
You ready for it?
Oh,
it's higher than you think. It's 182.5.
Yeah,
that's an under. I mean, that is a smash under.
That the only way that goes higher is if it's 35-0 Texans and the backups come out and it's pure garbage time, which is possible.
Genty's line is 45 rushing yards.
It's so sad, man.
Yeah, so the whole situation. So
I know you wanted to move quick here. Okay, we can move past it. Okay, real quick. Ginty or Loveland for the Bears in a redraft at 10?
Loveland.
Who would you take?
Still assuming that we have a young guy.
Yeah, it's fair. Okay. That's all I wanted to hear. You can go. You can go to the next game.
All right. Does that fit an agenda or something? Or is that
I did a redraft video and I thought it was a tough decision. If Ginty was there at 10.
No, I'd still go. I mean, I would actually prefer Tyler Warren, but that's a different. I mean, sure. I just think Tyler Warren's a better player than Colson Loveland, but I mean, it's, you know what I mean.
Yep.
All right. Patriots, Ravens. So the Ravens are favored by 2.5. Over under is 48.5. This is an interesting game because we've talked about for several weeks now how Lamar Jackson's not 100%. But the Patriots are 11-3. They're coming off of a game in which they blew a 21-0 lead to the Buffalo Bills. There was one play in that game in the second half where I thought, the next Patriots, not dynasty, not 6 and 18 years, but I very much thought look, they're going to get a Super Bowl either this year or next year. When Travion Henderson had that big touchdown run and Drake May was out in front, I mean, there's times where I'm a reactionary tweeter, whatever I'm feeling at the moment is let's fire it off. I tweeted that play with the caption, they're going to put this in the history books, this play, because it was electric. And immediately, or not immediately, but after the game, all the Bills fans were, oh, the history books of a losing game and all that. But credit to the Bills for winning and coming back, by the way, outscoring the Patriots 28-7 in the second half. But the Ravens' remaining 3 games is, I mean, guys, this is a can't lose game for the Ravens. They beat the Bengals last week. And credit to the Ravens, they had one really awesome play where Van Noy had the interception, gave it to Alohi Gilman, or was it Gilman? I think it was Gilman on the pick six. And there was a point in that game, it was 17-0. I thought the Bengals are going to make it 17-7. We're going to have somewhat of a game. They have the pick six, 24-0, and that was all she wrote. So for the Ravens defense to come out last week, especially after, the Bengals, they had 6 field goals within the game on Thanksgiving night. So it wasn't like the defense was getting, thrashed, if you will. And then the Ravens offense also had 5 turnovers. So again, it wasn't like the Ravens defense was, getting, Burrow was having a 200, or Jamar was having a 260-yard game like he's had against the Ravens before. But for the Ravens defense to pitch a shutout, nothing but a huge confidence booster moving forward, especially against a division rival, especially against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, a team that's torched you in the past. So for the Ravens in this game, their final 3 games, this is their final home game of the season. They play at Green Bay next week, which is on next Saturday. That'll be an awesome game. And then they play at Pittsburgh the following Sunday. So Pittsburgh plays in Detroit this week. That's going to be an incredibly tough game. There's also a very real scenario where Baltimore enters this game knowing the fact that Detroit just beat Pittsburgh by maybe double digits. They know they just beat them in Detroit. The Steelers are now 8-7. You have a chance to win this game. You have a chance to tie the Steelers in the AFC North. The Patriots, to me, are a really good team. I think people have gotten far too comfortable disrespecting this team. And again, I get that they blew a 21-point lead last week, but to even be up 3 scores at half against the Bills, who people have absolutely zero qualms about, hey, the Buffalo Bills can go to the Super Bowl. They can theyon the table. Both of these are, either team could win this game. The Patriots are a good team. Please stop disrespecting the Patriots. Drake May is an MVP candidate. I expect him to be an MVP candidate for several years. But ultimately, within this game, I think the Ravens are going to win. I think it's going to be very close. You could very much persuade me that the Patriots are going to win, but I trust Lamar Jackson. I trust John Harbaugh. I trust Derrick Henry right now in this specific situation with everything on the line more than I trust the Patriots. And I think Baltimore's going to win something along the lines of 24-20.
Yeah, surprisingly, I'm with you on that one. They're favorites in this game. That's notable. It's such an interesting meeting of the roads between the surprise success team in the AFC and the, one of the many, heavily disappointing teams, but the Ravens still have a heartbeat. And I think the core thing is that Lamar looked like Lamar last week, and they can beat anybody when that's the case. They're at home. I am worried about the lack of, left tackle and pass rush for New England in this one. So I understand why the Ravens are favored here. Not a game I'd bet. I think New England, like you said, you got to respect them. They got a lot going on, and agree with them hanging against Buffalo. It's not a bad loss, but yeah, and I think it was very well said. I agree across the board. I will pick the Ravens, but I don't feel good about it.
Shout out Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Best crab cakes. Crab cakes. If you haven't had crab cakes, you got to try them.
Oh, I love crab cakes. Yeah,
good,
that was my introduction to like shellfish. Was crab cakes. It was in Boston, which is still pretty freaking good. Yeah. All right. Should we do it? Green Bay, Chicago.
Either that or 49ers, Colts.
Yeah, we can do Green Bay, Chicago. We made the people wait long enough. So this has been a week of coping for me, and I think a lot of Packers fans. The amount of coping has been relentless, trying to just come to grips with this devastating Micah Parsons injury. I think you texted me when it happened. I literally couldn't see straight because it was just like, of course this happens. Of course, right. As if the Packers haven't had enough injuries this year. So it was tough, and it also was compounded, by the way, with not just Parsons, but it looked like Zach Tom and Christian Watson were also going down with tough injuries, which I think you can make a very strong argument that the combination of Tom and Watson is just as important to the Packers as Micah Parsons himself on the offensive side of things. If not equal, it's close. So it was very tough coming out of Sunday. I wasn't really sure how content was going to go this week because just thinking about football was tough, but we got to set our biases aside and go to work and get it done. Anyway, by the end of the week here, as the dust has settled, I think there's still, I don't want to say hope, but like, I think a pulse is the best way to put it. I think Green Bay can still have a pulse here coming out of this. They did open as favorites. I think the money has flooded into Chicago, and now Chicago is favored by
what is the spread? Yeah, what is
it's down to I'll put that graphic up. Thank you. I like that. That's your polite way of saying, "Hey, Marcus, do your job. Put the graphics on the screen." I think that's right for Chicago to now be favored. This was obviously such a tight matchup last time. And we just don't know how this defense is going to respond. There's a very low floor, I think, with how the run defense has struggled at points in this season. They've had some really good moments as a run defense too. So they're a little bit unpredictable in that sense. And then obviously how this pass rush is going to respond. No, Devontae Wyatt is big as well. He's out for the year as well. It's, compounding injuries there is never good, but there's still, you look at this team that realistically, I mean, they did their job offensively going into Denver, gave them a chance to win. It's not like the Packers defense played well last week anyway. So there's still ways to look at this. Like, yeah, this team can still win some football games. They're shot at a Super Bowl. Like their chances probably dropped off about 20%, I would think, if they were, maybe 30% chance at, or at least winning the NFC, maybe 30% chance at winning the NFC, or probably down to about 10% chance. But you're still a competitive football team here with Jordan Love has an opportunity here to really elevate this team and continue to play good football. You're just looking at guys across the board in this game for Green Bay that have a lot of potential that need to now, you can't replace the pass rush that Micah Parsons gave you, but can you recreate the value in the aggregate? Can Rashawn Gary step up? Lucas Van Ness, who's been out the majority of the season, the first time this week that I think he was lifted off the injury report, or at least generated a healthy report. So, you still have some players on that defensive line. They also, the one day 3 pick that they made that interested me. I thought Brian Gutekunst did a pretty bad job on day 3 this year, but there was one name, Colin Oliver, really athletic, 5th round pick from out Texas? Of Oklahoma State.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was really good in 2023 and then missed all of 2024. But very athletic, kind of, honestly, as a usage and profile, it's the same idea of Micah Parsons, like 6'4", 240, speed, bend. So you could actually, if he's able to get active here, you could actually, at least from a personnel standpoint, do some of the stuff that you do with Micah Parsons. So that's a name to keep an eye on there. And then the offense is just going to have to be even better, I think. So looking at Jordan Love in this matchup now against a Bears defense that I still just don't think is very good, as long as you aren't turning the football over. Obviously, in this matchup a couple weeks ago, Jordan Love had one of his 3 or 4 boneheaded throws the ball straight to a defender picks. Statistically, that's not going to happen again. I've said this a million times, but he gets too much hate for the few interceptions he does throw tend to be more ugly than other QBs. Hopefully you don't get that in this game from Green Bay. And the Packers offense can put a lot of pressure on the Bears in this one. So a lot going on there with Green Bay, obviously a lot to dissect from this week. But I do think they do still have some good things working for them. As for Chicago, I think you saw them run the ball really successfully in the second half against Chicago. I think that is probably still going to be their approach, but it's just going to be a different game plan without Micah Parsons. Cause you watched that game clearly a couple weeks ago. And I love that it's so fresh. It was so obvious that they came into that game. We're like, we're not going to let Micah Parsons, end this game for us before it gets started. And they were calling conservative third downs. They were running the ball constantly, and it didn't work early. And then they got it going in the second half when they started to wage that comeback. So I think the approach is similar, but obviously you're going to be you're going to be more capable probably of beating the Packers in the drop back passing game this time around without Micah Parsons. So that's going to put more pressure on Caleb Williams to have a good game, to be accurate, to avoid mistakes. I think the quarterback play in this one is really where it's going to be ultimately decided, which wasn't the case in the last matchup, but I think things are going to be different this time around. No Rome, no Luther Burden, who's been outstanding, is a big deal as well. So there's a lot going on in this one. I think it's the spread being tight makes sense. Before I make my pick, I'm curious who you're going to take in this one.
It's a good question.
I thought that was you because I looked away from my screen for a second.
It's coming. It's coming. Just don't fight it. Don't fight it. 9-5-1, lose to the Ravens 9-6-1, and then 9 knocks you out of the playoffs 9-7-1. Don't fight it. Just it's happening. Just don't fight it. Just don't fight it. It's happening. It's happening. We're gonna finish 9-8. Just don't fight it. It's better if we just know what's happening now in a couple weeks in advance.
Yeah,
that's what Roger texted me today. He said Merry Christmas, and
I don't think it's crazy. I could see it. Well, the Vikings. We don't need to go down that path.
Sorry,
but I did say
good, better, best.
The injury happened.
I do view that. That's
you
awful.
view that as you fast forward a month. There's your devastating loss against the Eagles, or whoever it was going to be in the playoffs. There's your devastating loss. There's your shot through the heart. That's your disappointment. And then whatever happens after that is a free season. It's house money. You go through the week and you start to break some of this stuff down. You get some good news on Zach Tom and Christian Watson, which I don't think Tom's going to play this week, by the way, but I think Watson's going to give it a go. You start to talk yourself into some hope again, and then you set yourself up to get hurt again. But it's definitely possible.
I'll say this. I do want to say just quickly that the Bears did not play a good first half when they played you guys. And the fact that it was a Caleb, kind of underthrow against, which Keyshawn Nixon made a good play in the ball away from winning at Lambeau without Rome in that game. I know Rome's still not playing in this game, but I like the Bears in this one, especially no Micah. I mean, Micah is, I'm a huge give flowers in their prime. Like guys' primes are short in the in terms of like their life, if you will. Like Micah Parsons is a Hall of Fame talent. There is no denying how good he is. And the fact that he's not playing is obviously extremely beneficial for the Bears. I think Chicago wins. I really think Chicago wins, and not like 27-10 or anything like that. I just think that the Bears are going to win. And I do have a super chat from ZD8. He was also the one who sent the super chats earlier. He said, "We're taking the North and we're never giving it back."
Never. I do think it's very interesting, and maybe this is just me coping, but that Bears game, so much of their offensive success, other than the run game that got going in the second half, was when Micah did get in. Caleb was just scrambling all over, like every drop back. It felt like Caleb was beating the Packers, getting out of the pocket. I just think it's going to look a lot different. I think it's going to be a lot more try to contain that, keep him in the pocket, and force him to beat you, from the pocket. Not saying he can't do that. I just think it's going to look a lot different. And comparing what happened a couple weeks ago to this one, it might look like a completely different couple of teams. Like I said, I understand why the Bears are favored. I really just try to pick the Packers and be right about it and try to take biases aside. I actually think the Packers get this one. I do. I think Jordan Love steps up in this one. I'm still worried about their upside down the road, but at the end of the day, the Bears defense just doesn't scare me. They just don't.
I actually do agree with that. I do have one super chat. This is from one of my most loyal guys. He says, "Tell Mr. Whitman that the Bears will blow out the Packers so much that his future children will feel it."
Oh man, ouch.
That's yeah. I mean.
Yep. I have a super chat. Do you guys think of a wild card? This is from Arlo. Do you guys think if a wild card team has a better record than a division leader, should they be seated higher? I was in the minority when they were reviewing that rule. I do think that winning the division, guaranteeing a playoff spot is plenty reward enough. the counter argument was that the division needs to matter and all that. I think that does matter. I think you look at the NFC South, that freaking matters. That is the difference between getting in the playoffs or not. Should that team get to host a 13-win Rams team? No, it's stupid. That's my opinion on it.
I actually, I just thought about this because last year this would have been extremely beneficial to myself with a 14-win wildcard team. The more that I think about it, and I wasn't strong in this last year, I was very much like, hey, go win your division. You want to have a problem, go win your division, go take care of business. I wouldn't be opposed to having, if you have a 13 or 14 win wild card and then you have an 8-9 team win, be the fourth seed. I wouldn't be opposed to having those swap, have the wild card host. And this is just off the top of my head. I wouldn't be opposed to the wild card team hosting that team, if that makes sense. Just because it's you keep the seeding the same, but if the wild card team is a better record, they're the home team. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Especially in Brady's final year, the 8-9 2022 Bucks that got beat by 20 points by Dallas in the first round.
Yeah. That's a good middle ground.
I think that's
then you're technically drawing a weaker opponent still if you win your division, so you're getting a benefit there. I like that. I think that's pretty good.
All right, we have Colts Niners. Big Phil.
All right. Was this supposed to be my game?
It was. I'll take it though. I'll take it. Look,
I forgot to put notes down on this one. Not that I can't talk about it, but you were staring at me. I'm like, oh shoot, this was.
No, I got it. The Colts are now 8-6, and I do want to credit the Colts last week. I mean, to go out into Seattle and to play a legit tough game against the Seahawks is nothing short of impressive. I don't care. I don't care if it's a half participation trophy, whatever. It's not. I care if people say that because it's not. They were in a position to win that game, and I think Colts fans legitimately have a right to be mad at the defensive play calling at the end of that game, just because they had a chance to not only win, but if we're being honest, I mean, that was really poor situationally awareness play calling at the end to just basically say, hey, Sam Darnold, do you want to run 8-yard out routes or 9-yard out routes? Just here you go. Just here's a free 9 yards the whole way up the field, to the point where Jason Myers go down and kick a 6th game-winning field goal. There was a press conference from Kyle Shanahan this week where Kyle Shanahan was basically asked, what is the difference between somebody like Phillip Rivers, and then they didn't say Anthony Richardson, though the prototype fits here. And it was basically versus a 22-year-old quarterback in AR's 23, but a 22-year-old athletic quarterback that's, not where Phillip is, despite clearly having every physical trait way, way superior to Phillip at this point. And Kyle Shanahan basically just said, look, Phillip knows he's not going to win. He's not going to beat anybody on athleticism. He knows what his game is based off of. He's seen any defense that you can possibly throw at him over the course of a 20-year, or I guess a 15-year professional NFL career. And we're not going to be able to out scheme Phillip Rivers at this point. And I thought Phillip more than held his own last week. Now, expectations should be tempered for a 44-year-old guy that's also a grandfather, but for Phillip to come in and not play legitimately awful. I mean, guys, we've seen Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's a little bit of a different situation, but when he came back after missing a year and a half, that was borderline unplayable. And then we saw earlier points this year where McCarthy went from the national championship to real NFL action. That was also almost unplayable for, a year and a half gap. And then also, by the way, those guys were in their 20s, not going from 39 years old to 44. And if we're being honest, Phillip is, he's every bit of 265 to 270. He's not 230. He's not 240. You can tell he's put some pounds on. And Phillip did say himself, when they asked him about his weight in a press conference, they said, what do you weigh? And he said, it doesn't matter because I didn't outrun anybody, even in my prime. So it really didn't matter.
Yeah.
Which is basically Q4. I have put on some pounds. So for Indy in this game, I think that there's a chance they can win this. I know that that's going to, come across. Some 49ers fans have been wanting me to talk about the 49ers. And I do think Kyle Shanahan should be legitimately in the coach of the year conversation. I hate the fact for 49ers fans, for them to get something excited about, that he's kind of graduated from the coach of the year discussion because of the success they've had, which is not fair considering the hand they've been dealt this year. But when you look at how the 49ers defense matches up against this Colts offense and the fact that they are going to try to do everything to have Jonathan Taylor run the football, there's a path for Indy to win this game. And I mean, I will be honest, I would still choose the 49ers to win, but this is very much a don't be surprised, especially with how Phillip was not a complete liability last week, that if Indy somehow pulls off a 20-17 win.
Yeah, I like the Colts. There's just a much better overall roster. They're the home team here. They are in the absolute most desperate state of their season. I think they can throw some haymakers. I think it's gonna be a big Jonathan Taylor game. I mean, the difference, like you said, Rivers was capable. Like, it wasn't a disaster. You don't need to be anything too special with this infrastructure offensively. I think the Colts defense last week had the best game of their career, and if they can step up in a big spot again, that'd be huge. Yeah, I do like the Colts in this one, even as 5.5-point underdogs. Obviously, the Niners are doing a lot of good stuff. Man, I know it gets tiring to hear about it, but the Niners schedule, how good is this team? Like, if they had just an average schedule, are they a 500 team? I don't know. I really don't, because their last 4 games, Titans, Browns, Panthers, Cardinals, they win all those. Then they played the Rams. They got annihilated. They played the Giants and won. They played the Texans and lost by 11 points. You know, like, yeah, they beat the Rams week 5. It was a completely different football team with the injuries and how this team has evolved. Man, I've been such a Niners defender over the years, but there's just nothing about this team that really moves me other than when they play bad defenses, they can control the clock, and McCaffrey and Kittle and Purdy are going to consistently move the chains. It's just such a different conversation when you're playing good football teams. And I just don't know that they have the Jimmies and Joes to do it right now. So I'm going to take the Colts on a bit of a narrative driven pick there, but I'll stand by it. All right.
I do have a couple super chats. One board said, been watching your stuff for a few years. Keep up the good work. Was at the Hawks game last night. As soon as I recapped the game last night, and he just said, thanks for the content, which I very much appreciate. And CD8 also just said, sincerely appreciate the content and insight that you guys provide every week. You guys add an extra dimension to the football season for me and many others. Enjoy the games. Happy holidays.
Very kind. Thank you.
And then also, the Bears can clinch a playoff spot. This is another super chat. Bears can clinch the playoffs with a Detroit loss and Chicago win this week. Although I don't think Detroit's going to lose this week, but
no,
we'll see.
No.
If this season has proven anything can happen.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So
Monty did show up. He apologized for running a little bit late and then drops a $20 super chat. No need. I guess he didn't technically apologize. But here's the Broncos analysis from Monty, which Monty's been legendary with the Broncos analysis this year. A lot more under center tempo. FIB. Not sure what
formation into boundary, baby.
Wow. See, this is what I'm saying. Monty knows more about football than me. From Peyton this week. We'll see if it continues. Still nervous about the D, given the showing in the first half, especially in the run. Losing Brandon Jones is big too. Yeah, that's a good point. The Jags have been an excellent run game, and the Broncos' run defense has had some lapses. Packers certainly got some good runs last week. So, yeah, keep an eye on that Broncos run defense. Thank you, Monty.
I will say one thing quickly. I like being able to say like a term, like a football term, and then it's like to think like I'm really smart. Like if you just say like a mofo coverage and it's literally cover 2, middle of field open, like that, you know what I mean? But if you go in a room and say like, man, they got to really attack this mofo coverage, like you can really like think people like have people think that like you are. You know, like you're breaking down film, you're in the lab, like you're Gruden's Grinders or you're Mel Kiper. And
yes,
I do love like the, you know what I mean? So
absolutely. I hadn't heard the fib before.
But that will wrap up the week 16 preview. Please like the stream. Please like my stream, Marcus' stream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And as always, until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
See you, everybody.